Hello, welcome again to Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks. Rebecca at home. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner, checking out how this sat, owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in Brevard, North Carolina. I'm a little out of whack this week. I'm going to tell you all about it. But I am wearing the Ranunculus that brought me so much fame on this channel. I figured I'm trying to wear a different sweater every week to show you some of the things I've been working on or have lying around. And this is the sweater that a lot of you watched me make in my Ranunculus videos. And it's been sitting at the shop for a really long time. Dismissing things on my phone. My watch, call it my phone. I'm filming on my phone right now. It's been sitting at the shop for a while, and I was trying to find something this week to wear that was not too hot, but not too cold. And this one in the Cumulus Rainbow really kind of fit the bill. So I ended up wearing it home this weekend. It's been a week. I'm going to update you in a second. And I said, that's perfect for me to wear on this channel. So, because a lot of you have watched this being built, and it's hard to find. I find it works really well over the dresses that I wear at work. And I'm just looking, I have a V-neck under this, whatever. The neckline's different than a lot of the stuff I wear. So, it's finding what's comfortable and not overanalyzing. And isn't that hard? I know. So, yeah, it's been a week. If anyone is following on Instagram, or we touched on it on the sideshow, there have been some wildfires in the area. I live in Western North Carolina, and some of you know we got severely impacted by Helene a few months ago, Hurricane Helene. I wasn't as bad as some. I did have my back deck sheared off by a tree that luckily didn't hit the rest of the house. We have our own traumas from that. And now this area, I'm really close to South Carolina where I live. So, there's a really big fire in North Carolina, wildfire, over by Henderson County, Polk County. And that one's not that close to me, but there's one in South Carolina that is a Table Rock fire. Came probably within, by some estimates, as close as 4 miles to my house. And everyone under me, south of me, between me and the fires, was evacuated. And it came, the evacuation orders came right up to the southern edge of the community I live in, which is a big community. But really close to where I used to live. And I've been sitting in waiting mode all week for the evacuation orders to come. I took a lot of necessities into the shop. I was planning on camping out at the shop with my cat. All I had left was to come scoop up my cat and bring him to the shop if needed. And then just over the weekend, just as they started to get things under control, because it was 0% contained all week and getting closer and closer and closer. Good news is it never hit one of the houses in North Carolina, as far as I know. It stayed to the forest mainly. But it's been just a stressful and harrowing week, just not knowing. I had an offer from a friend to go stay at her guest house if I needed, and that was right when they were starting to actually get it under control, or have the fire breaks hold. And we got a little bit of rain over the past couple of days. It's not enough to just, put out all the fires. Yay! It's not just rain, instant fire control. But it was enough to kind of put our minds at ease a little bit more. It's been a lot. It's hard to communicate. I've been talking to people all week about it at the shop, which actually makes it hard to vocalize right now, put it into words, it's not my quote, but someone else, I was reading on an online forum or a news article, like the headline was, someone else put it better than I could ever, that, after Helene, this whole area held their breath whenever it rained, because it reminded us of the craziness of Helene. And now we're praying for rain because of the wildfires. And the wildfires were actually fueled by the damage done by Helene, because the forests south of me are very rugged and unpopulated and hard to traverse, hard to get into. And an estimate is up to a third of the trees there had been knocked over by Helene and were just sitting as dry tinder on the ground. So that's one of the reasons this thing just blew up. It was like 12,000 acres. So far, as I'm filming this, I think we're in the safe zone. But I'm still watching and I'm still waiting. And that's meant all week, like all the things I was going to do, all the things. Yeah, it's just been mind numbing and hard to focus and hard to get anything done. And traffic at the shop's been kind of slow. Like we've had a few bubbles of activity. Some people in town are just as worried, if not more worried than I am. Some people in town are not worried at all. And this never came close to town. Town is north of me. But it's been a lot. So headspace is just, and I hate to be throwing out excuses, why I haven't done things. Or I also hate to feel like I'm supposed to be getting things done and I haven't been. And it's a lot right now. And I'm not putting this out there as I'm not looking for solutions. Thank you for anyone who wants to offer advice. I'm not looking for solutions. I'm kind of pondering and vocalizing as I go, it just helps to get it out, so there's all kinds of things that I haven't had time to advertise for, that I want to advertise for, that, I have a new make-along coming up. There's all these things I feel like I should be focused on, and it's very hard to do that. And when you are self-employed, that puts a lot of weight, It's hard to not feel like there's responsibilities, and if things don't perform, it's your fault, So anyway, I'm just trying to grapple with that and hopefully get back on track. But some of that is to say, weekly summary of activity on my watch, whatever. Okay. Some of that is to say that I don't have anything blocked this week. I didn't have the headspace to block anything. And on top of that, I didn't want to block stuff while smoky conditions were wafting in and out of the house, to get something wet and leave it damp and drying. I smelled like a campfire at least a couple of days when I went into the shop this week, and I didn't necessarily want my stuff to smell like a campfire. And on top of that, I didn't know if at any time this week I would be scooping up what I could and leaving, and my house was going to burn down, and it didn't. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful that, as far as I know, no firefighters were hurt by this fire, and no people and houses were hurt by this fire. Because I know there's been fires across the country and other places in the world where people haven't been as lucky. But it just meant a lot of things kind of went on hold, including my brain functioning right. So, yeah. So I only have a few things home with me, which I'm going to go through right now to be this episode, right? To get me back on track. Because I wasn't doing all of my Instagram morning meditations this week. There's a lot of things. I got to go pay some bills that got neglected this week once I get off of here. But so I can show you what I brought home. And not all of what I brought home did I actually work on. I have some things with progress to show you all, but I don't have my Laulu shawl or my Monti wrap to show you. I left those at the shop. My Laulu shawl maybe will be blocked this week. We'll see. But the blocking pads are still up in my loft, fully spread out and ready. They were not amongst the essentials that I brought to the shop. I did bring in, like, I have a bins over here for my works in progress, and I do have that's empty almost. I brought in most of my works in progress. That was important enough to bring in, but not my blocking stuff. You know, I had to draw the line somewhere. I had essential papers, clothes and toiletries, photo albums from my childhood, college degree, you know, certificates, my printmaking supplies that I haven't even really used yet, my works in progress, and that was about it. And any supplies I needed for my cat were going to be the last thing I grabbed. Yeah, so it's kind of weighing heavy on me. I'm getting more sleep now, which is good. I'm not feeling as congested from the smoky conditions, which is good. But, you know, so still drinking my morning coffee. It is almost 11 o'clock here right now, East Coast time. But so let's see. Today is the last day of March, and so again, another thing, I have not woven my ends in and blocked my staff in. Like, I really am moving as little as I can back and forth between the shop and here. But as things quiet down, I will try to pick back up on that. So the last day of March, my staff and pullover finished, not blocked. My staff and vest, I've managed to make a lot of progress on. I am in the 5th ball. There's been times this week where it's just been really hard to do any work on anything. I'm in the 5th ball of my Merino 401. They're 50-gram balls. So I think 5th. I don't think I'm in. Actually, I might have just started my 6th. I'm trying to remember, because this one's a pretty new one. I think I'm through my 5th and onto my 6th ball. That would be the equivalent of 3 100-gram balls, though, or twists. So it really isn't taking that much yarn to make this. And I tend to make things like for a finished bust circumference now of about somewhere around 50 inches. Because I got a lot of meat. It used to be at 50 inches. I was like, I don't know. And now I'm like, no, yeah, 50 inches, that's it. I'm checking in my bag right now. I could have sworn I put some barber cords in here. Okay, here's one. It's not the one I was looking for, but it is one. I was joking with people at the shop. I'm not sure. So barber cords are silicone tubes that are awesome, that the Knitting Barber came up really popularized first. And now there's all different versions of those out there. But the barber cords, I joke, they come in sets of 160-inch cord, which is this, and 230-inch cord. So it's really great for like sleeves and trying on if you're doing a top-down sweater like the Ranunculus. And I don't think I have a complete set anywhere. I have like almost every single color. She has 14 colors available, and I have almost every color. I have bits and bobs and pieces in projects, around projects, who knows where. And I just hope I can find them when I need them. So, but I have a million projects going at once. Actually, it's less than, I'm sliding my stitches on here. It's fewer than Liz. And after Finish Your Frog at February, I'm probably in the 20-something project range, which isn't that bad. But it's still a lot of projects. So, okay. Here's what to do. I just accidentally yanked on the cord and dislodged it from the needle. Here's what I do when that happens. Is the needle is a firmer, even if it means I'm going backwards, I'm putting stuff back on the needle. The needle is a firmer thing to poke through these stitches than the barber cord. So I get the needle back through all those stitches to where it can hit the barber cord again. and then I jam the barber cord on. It's very possible for this to happen. This does not mean it's a malfunctioning tool. It just means where the join is, it can stick really well, but then you have to be gentle with it. And holding it up like this to show you all, like when I slide these stitches down. So let me finish a sentence. I'm really out of it right now. So holding it up like this to show you all puts weight on it in ways that's going to pull it apart. But if I'm going to slide stitches down the barber cord, I'm going to hold where it joins to the needle because it's probably going to yank it off. And I'm not really holding it up high enough for you all because I am a little worried about it coming off of the, the disconnecting. Almost through here. All right. So this is through. I use my nail to just kind of pop it off of the needle. And I'm going to take the two ends and tie them. I call it a balloon tie. I'm twisting both strands around my finger and pulling both strands through the loop I just made, if I can. That I can untie again pretty easily because the silicone doesn't form a hard knot like yarn would. Okay, this is now stretched out enough that I can probably try it on for you all. So the vest, I'm getting closer to the right length. Again, it's been hard to knit on things. I found there's times when knitting on this pattern, I'm so used to this pattern by now, the repetition of how it goes, that settle the t-shirt before I put it on, that I'm just knitting in circles now on the length of this instead of following any complicated directions. And that's been kind of soothing when I can't really focus very well. When I was worried about where the fires were. Getting this on. Like tons of ends to weave in. There's a spot where you're picking up stitches from the back and it's just one line of yarn and then you're reconnecting in another way. And I'm not necessarily a vest person, but it's kind of cool because this only takes, so much yarn to complete. And I'm about to enter into another one. This is the Staff and Vest by Creabea. And I'm about to enter into another one of these 15 rows of ribbing. And so that's going to take me down to here. It depends on how long I want the vest in some ways. Since this is going to be over stuff, I think for my size, it's supposed to end like maybe with this or down here. And that may be where, like after this set of 15 rows of ribbing and more stuff, that might be good. Like it's not going to go, if I stop just this much more, it's not going to cover the belly, like pants and belly. So by itself, I might be exposing some of my lower belly there. But both because I want to be done soon and because this is probably going to go over a dress or over a button-down shirt where the shirt may show underneath. I don't know if I want this to be super crazy long. So once I hit the end of this row of ribbing, I'm going to check the pattern where the pattern thinks I should be ending my repeat for my size. But I really can end it at any time. I want to hit it either like at the end of the ribbing, just here, just down there. I don't think I want to hit a whole nother repeat of this ribbing. So then I can do the edging on this and be done. Won't be done today. I've always said my make-alongs are not, it's not like, get something done in 2 months and move on. We're celebrating a different sweater, a different top every 2 months. And you can start and take as long as you need to finish it. I have things from make-alongs from years ago that I haven't finished yet that I would like to. I still would like to. But I mean, it's one of the topics I was potentially going to philosophize on today is we've been talking at the shop this week about what people make why they make it, and expectations of what one should make as a knitter or crocheter. And I mean, I tell you, like, I'm going to take this off in a second, but you should make whatever you would like to. You know, you don't have, unless you're really like craving to make a top like this, you don't have to make a top like this. My make-alongs are all tops or sweaters this year. That's because I love them. They're things that I'm going to wear again. And I try to make my shop be approachable for everyone to make whatever they want. I am going to personally gravitate towards certain things. I push myself to make things I wouldn't normally make for the sake of my shop. But I really believe for everyone else that it's not like you're a knitter if you've made socks and sweaters and shawls and this and that, and or crocheter if you've done amigurumi. And like, there's no benchmarks, in my opinion, for what makes you a knitter or crocheter or a good knitter or crocheter. If you do it, that's awesome. And you should do what brings you joy. I always, my sign off, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. You should make what brings you joy. And if someone pushing you to try something new brings you joy, fantastic. If someone pushing you to try something you haven't done before is stressful and uncomfortable, and you know, it's not necessarily that there's going to be this magic moment where it's like, aha, you were right, haha. Like, you should do what you want to. So if there's something holding you back from trying a sweater and you want to do that, like I'm doing for knitters, I'm doing Knit Your First Sweater in June and July. We're doing the flax worsted by Tin Can Knits. But if it's someone pressuring you because you haven't made a sweater and you're not a knitter unless you've made a sweater, to me, that's not okay. You don't have to make a sweater to be a knitter. You know, you can make dishcloths, you can make scarves. If shawls are your happy place, I know people who knit shawls to infinity and they may never wear them, but they love making them. And that's okay too. You don't have to wear what you make. It's like things like this. I don't know how often I'm going to wear a vest, but this has been really soothing for me right now. But if it's not soothing for you to work on something like this, that's okay. And it's okay to not finish something that has been annoying you. You know, I know people who, it depends on what is going to satisfy you the most. I know people who will say, I will not let this project defeat me. And finishing it is what satisfies them. And I know other people who say, this project is so annoying, ripping it out or putting it aside or retiring it, that is what is going to satisfy me. And I think you should listen to what your heart is trying to tell you. Your brain, heart, body. There are many different ways that our selves communicate to us. And having dealt with anxiety my entire life, I am not saying that I have conquered this thing and I now have inner peace and I'm trying to share with you all my inner peace. But I'm saying I get it. You know, it's we all need to listen a little more to ourselves. I'm much better at helping others with that than fully internalizing it myself. I'm not necessarily leading by example, but I've watched enough and I've felt enough within myself to understand what could help somebody else. So that's what I put out there is do what makes you happy. And if that is taking on a new challenge, that's awesome. If that is sticking with what you've done so far and doing more of it, that's awesome. Everything is good. So you decide what's good for you. You know, I know someone who all she ever knit was socks. And for some people that would drive them bonkers. But she loved it. She absolutely loved it. I don't know if she knit them for herself or other people or both, or she was always knitting socks every time I saw her. And she loved it. She absolutely loved it. And that's fantastic. And we've had people come in the shop recently who say, well, I trust you enough to let you know I knit dishcloths. And I think it's because they worry about the judgment that could come down of, oh, you only knit dishcloths, or you knit dishcloths. Like, ugh. And that's awesome. I mean, that anything has developed to find that there's a hierarchy to what is valuable to knit, or what shows experience, or that something's better than something else in the knit and crochet world. I mean, I think it's all wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's sometimes hard to find supplies for certain things, especially when people have deemed them inconsequential or lesser than. And I just think all of it is wonderful. And we should do what makes us happy, or what we feel. Sometimes what we feel comfortable with is what makes us happy. And sometimes the comfort is kind of, we're comfortable with, I'm trying to find the right way to put this. It's not satisfying, but it's comfortable, so we stay there. And sometimes you don't know what's out there until you try something new. But everyone's going to have a different experience with that. And that doesn't mean that comfort is a good or bad thing. It depends on who you are and what works for you. So sometimes it's dabbling with uncomfortableness and trying something new and saying, nope, that wasn't for me. And that's okay. And sometimes it's, if what's keeping you from making something new is the fear that it won't go well, that's different than I'm just happy where I am and this is what I want to make. It's finding ways to bring yourself joy and figuring out what that is for you. If something is holding you back because you think that it's something you cannot achieve, I say go for it. You know, worst case scenario from my point of view, and I speak of it frivolously in a way. Worst case scenario is it doesn't go well, and you say, okay, it didn't go well. I've done my life lessons from knitting and crochet used to be its own strand, and now I'm kind of working it into this weekly podcast that I'm doing. And I kind of just lost track of where that was going. But again, brain is not completely cohesive right now. But something, just that's where I was going. The fear of it not going well. Even when things don't go well, you're learning a lot. Fear of failure can keep people from learning and achieving a lot. And even in failure, and especially with knitting and crocheting, you learn so much. You may not have the product to show at the end of it, but you've learned so much it comes out better the next time, often. And so fear of, oh, I can't make a sweater. If you want to make a sweater, jump in. But the flip side of that for a lot of people is they don't want to make a sweater, and that's okay too. Find other things that you like doing and making. Just because someone knits or crochets does not mean they have to check off these boxes. I love being at the shop in case they want to. I love being there to help them in case they want to, but that doesn't mean they have to. Yeah, it's just, shawls are not my favorite thing necessarily to do. I make them for the shop. I wear them as like decorative scarves. I think they can be the coolest thing ever. But they're not my personal happy place. To me, they make some really good wall hangings or examples for the shop. And when I make them, it's more about the process. you know, and sweaters have really been my happy place lately. And I love making them, and I probably have too many of them at this point, but there's something I'm more likely to wear. And some of what factors into that for people can be where they live. If you live in a really warm place, you're not going to wear a whole lot of sweaters. There are tops. There are other things you can make that could work, but not all knitted tops are going to work for all people either. Crocheted tops can tend to be even thicker. I'm gonna move along to a crocheted top in a second, which, since we're one day away from April, our next make along is the Granny Hexi Cardigan. And actually, yeah, let me just move on to that, because everything else I have is unfinished, and I'm going to show off in little bits and pieces. Sorry, I keep getting hair and fuzzies in my nose. Life. So I've made a lot of progress on my Granny Hexi Cardigan. I finished my 2 hexagons, and not all of this is something, I had it at the shop because it was a lot of stuff to move back and forth, and I didn't want to bring big amounts of stuff home if I had to evacuate. So I finally brought it home on Saturday when I thought we might be heading towards a decent, like, wildfires are not going to come racing through the area. They're still there, but they're not coming towards us still. And I worked on Saturday at the 2 hexagons I made, seaming them and doing the back piece that has to fit together. And now I'm working on the sleeves. So this is 1 hexagon, and this is the other. Once they're folded together, folded in half, they make an L, which is your torso and your sleeve. And this one, the colors on the other one go in same colors, opposite order. And then in between the two, right in here. So the Marionberry, which is this row right here, I'm using Cascade 220 Superwash. The Marionberry is the outer row of the hexagon. And then I did extra rows here and extra rows here just across the back. And the banana cream here is the joining of the two. And I followed her instructions, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to fit for my size, but it's all about measurements. And it fit, which is really awesome. So I've done a couple more things on this here. So, okay. I think this is kind of amazing. And I have plans for my next cardigan already. So because I love this, this is a perfect example of how when you don't decrease your sleeves, they look like they are getting bigger. If you don't decrease as you get out from your sleeve. This looks like a bell sleeve. These both do. And yet, they're straight. They're absolutely straight. They're the same number going around every single row. So I have to decide now. I was totally going to put cuffs on these that would bring this up and give me like a balloon sleeve. Like, see here, this is the top seam of my crocheted Granny Hexi Cardigan. And these rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've done 5 rows after that going around to make my sleeves longer. This is a really good length if I wanted to put cuffs on right now, because it goes like right to my wrists. You can see how long this is in the back. Not as long as my t-shirt. Now, I still have a ton of yarn left because this was made from 22 balls of leftover dye lots. And what I really want to do with this one, I really want to make it longer. Like, before I put the trim on it here, it doesn't have like a border. But before I do that, I think I want to add a lot of length. That's really the cool thing about this make along, is you can pick whatever yarn you want and whatever hook you want. Like, maybe a hook that's the right size for it, maybe a big one to make it lacy, This one I did, Cascade 220 Superwash is a DK weight yarn. DK to worsted, kind of right in the middle. Number 3, number 4. And I used a mythological, we call it the mythological 7. I used a 4.5 millimeter hook. And you just, for your size, you go until half of the hexagon is a certain width. And that's what I did. And then I did, I love how, look at that. Oh, it's so cute. And then the back pieces, if you follow her instructions for your size, it adds, if you can see the Marionberry line in there, it adds width to connect these to make them work. And then you can add length to your sleeves and length to your torso. Like there's bits and pieces. It's not just 2 hexagons. But this was by, there's a few different patterns for something like this. And I find sometimes for crocheters, I'm going to scoot forward and sit down again. There's a lot more of, okay, I'm just going to wing it, or I'm going to do this or that, and I'm going to figure out how it works. A lot of people have put out patterns. Toni Lipsey has a pattern. This one's Kelly Phelps, Craft and a Cuppa. And I thought her instructions were really good. So there's a lot of different ones out there that are using the same idea. And some might write stuff better than others, and some may communicate their ideas better. But yeah, I'm torn between making these, keeping these just as big open. I mean, this is just so nice. I will say, because I have a lot of width in my center, my core is rotund. That makes the sleeves big and open and billowy. And it could lend itself to not having a cuff on this. I might try a cuff, and if I don't like it, I'm going to pull it out. It could just mean it's going to be more comfy and cozy as a big open thing. If you have a more slender torso, this part isn't going to get as wide, because this is as wide as my torso is. And then your sleeves will be a lot thinner. So because if it's not as wide here and you just keep going, you have a thinner sleeve. So if you want one that is big and roomy like this, you have to make it oversized for yourself if you are skinnier. So all that being said, it's interesting. I don't have a lot of people signed up for this next make along in terms of classes and coach and connect. And I think it's because a lot more crocheters are like, I'll just wing it. If you would like any guidance on this, especially if you're new to crochet, you could totally make this if you're new to crochet. Because 90% of this, if you know how to double crochet and chain, you can totally do this. And our Coach and Connect starts this Saturday night. And every other week, basically, I have the dates listed on the thing you can purchase for Coach and Connect. So it's Zoom virtual. On the online website, the shop site, you can purchase Coach and Connect to do stuff virtually with me, to just have support, to be able to ask questions in real time, and to get your footing under you as you work. And so there'll be 4 sessions throughout April and May. And I don't have as many people signed up for that. I'll just be completely honest. And I think it's because there are a lot more crocheters who are like, I'll just wing it. And that's cool. Like, but if you're interested in that, if you're interested in connecting with other people who may not be local, I think it's a good resource for that. It's only $40 and it covers all 4 sessions. It's 4-hour-long sessions. This is the vehicle for anyone who wants to ask questions and do things and doesn't want to spend the money. And I get that too. I think we're all trying to live and work within our means. And do what you can. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. Being self-employed, I get that. So this is just, this is just super busy and lots of colors. And I'm trying to pick out one to make during the make along, since this one is not done, but getting close, that maybe has thicker yarn. Liz has been pushing me towards using maybe a combo of wizard and fairy floss just to see what happens. I'm kind of excited to try something with a bigger hook that would go even faster. And yeah, I just think it'd be fun to have a big fluffy. It's gonna look like this, but not. Like maybe only using 2 colors of those yarns, but in using 2 colors of those yarns, it still will have lots of colors. They just might coordinate a little more. I don't know. We're gonna see. So I went totally busy on this. It's hard to tell someone how much yarn they're going to need, especially if they change the thickness of yarn from the pattern. They might be changing the size. They might be changing the hook. And crochet, I can estimate knit amounts, especially because I just looked at a lot more knit patterns, more than crochet ones, because crochet eats up more yarn than knitting does. And so it's really hard to estimate. I'm always worried I'm going to estimate incorrectly, but that's okay. So if you are local and want to get some help, especially if it's your first time making something like this, our in-shop class, that is a kickoff class where we're going to go over all the practical necessities of making something like this. We can help you pick out yarn. That is this Saturday as well. April 5th is when both Coach and Connect for virtual participants and the kickoff class for in-shop participants happen. The kickoff class is back up. Coach and Connect is 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern time in the evening. And the Zoom link is only given out to people who've paid for it. The Breann, the in-shop class, it's $50, but for 2 hours in person, and a lot of in-person stuff happening, 10:30 to 12:30 on Saturday. There's still plenty of room in that class too. Again, I feel like a lot of crocheters are like, I'll wing it. We will also have in shop some Wednesday afternoons set aside for free sit and stitch. With, if you need assistance during the sit and stitch, there are fees associated with that. And if you come to the kickoff class, those fees are reduced. So you can get help as you go for a lower rate. Anyway, but you can also just participate for free and come hang out and enjoy seeing what other people are making. This is a new venture for us, so there's not necessarily a ton of people. Like, I can't promise you we'll have hordes of people at these events. But we're trying them out. Why not? You know? So, this is actually quite cozy. It is not as soft as the Cumulus. Making one out of Cumulus would be kind of awesome. Like, I think I want to do that too now. Or maybe that's what I should be doing instead of the Wizard. I don't know. I could totally change my mind on everything. But okay, to show you the other things I brought home. Last week, I brought home my dark matter shawl, but I haven't touched it. I keep wanting to work on it more because Hannah, minion number 2 at the shop, is making one same contrast color and black instead of cream. But there's so many things for classes that I'm working on that has not been worked on. I brought home, speaking of granny square type stuff, this is a new yarn called Myrtle we have at the shop, which is eucalyptus. It's kind of shiny and fun. I'm trying to make a bag out of this. It's a bag I want to teach if I go to the island in New Hampshire I like to vacation at. But I'm also teaching it at the shop. It's the Hippie sling bag, and I don't remember who it's by. But it has 3 squares and I'm using the same order of colors as she is, but slightly different colors, where if you make the square and then you fold it like a triangle, I'm going to have a triangle at the bottom and 2 on each side. And I haven't really made much progress other than this one square, but I brought this home with me. I think I showed you all last time that I want to make the key sweater by PetiteKnit. I think it's really cool because it looks like the stripes are interlocked like puzzle pieces. And I'm using a color palette that, where's the, okay. I've wound a couple of the skeins, but not all of them. That when I was trying to pick out colors for a different sweater, both Hannah and Liz said those are pretty colors together. That's a nice palette. And so I'm like, now I have to make something because they hardly ever agree on colors. So it was these two colors and then this color. These are all Patagonia, and those colors don't show up very well. This is seaweed. This is a really dark green. And this is like a pinky, almost purpley pink. And then, this moss green, like a rose pink. And then, like, I was trying to pick two colors to do a colorwork sweater. And instead, none of these will be in the colorwork sweater, and all of these will be in my key sweater. So, in this order, because it'll go green, pink, green, but light green, and then dark green. And every time I hit a stripe, every time I'm supposed to change colors, I'm going to change to, like, I'm not going to have one background color and all light. I'm going to keep changing colors. I think it's going to be beautiful. I have not had the headspace to do anything more than, and I'm surprised I had the headspace for this. It starts with a tubular cast on, an Italian cast on, which the cool thing about a tubular cast on, it's very hard to see in the dark yarn of this. It'll just look like the knits and purls, instead of having kind of a ridge over them, they just look like they magically appear and have ribbing. And I haven't done much with this yet, obviously, but that's the top part here where I am. And as soon as I get down through all my short rows and everything, I'm going to change to the pink. I did a gauge swatch. This is written for Aran weight, like a heavy worsted weight, a heavy number 4. And Patagonia is more of a light number 3. So originally, I might have told you all last week that I was planning on, I Nostopined this. That's why it doesn't look quite as pretty as this one. I hand wound this on a Nostopin, essentially a big stick. So I could have a center pull and an outside pull so that I could test. I was like, maybe I should just hold this double-stranded. And that will give me the right gauge for a heavy worsted sweater. And I tried a gauge swatch with a 7 of 4.5 millimeter needle. And I wasn't quite getting gauge. The gauge for this is 18 stitches by 24 rows. I tend to just stick to the stitches and not stress about the rows. I'd rather have it be too long than too short. But so I was getting 17 stitches, which means my stitches were too big. And I didn't want to go down a needle size because it was already feeling very thick holding 2 strands together. So then I did a swatch with a size 7 needle, single-stranded, and I was getting 19 stitches. So the stitches were too small. And then I jumped to a size 9 needle, a 5.5 millimeter, and tried again. So I did a lot of swatching, and I was back down to 17 stitches. So again, they were too big. And so then I tried an 8 needle, and I'd rather go through all of this to make sure it fits. And it's kind of 18, it might be a little closer to 18 and a half, so it might be a little small. So I'm gonna pick, this sweater's supposed to have enormous positive ease, meaning like adding width to it. Like the smallest I'm looking at here, the smallest finished circumference is 42 inches. So it's meant to have like 9 inches of positive ease. Like the extra small is meant to just be big and fluffy and oversized. And you can pick though you don't have to pick something that big. And I find something that's supposed to have tons of positive ease, like this one kind of does, the bigger you are, the more adding that as much positive ease on sometimes backfires. Sometimes it's big and cozy, and sometimes you just feel like you're drowning in it. So I'm probably going to make like maybe the 54-inch size. It's the 2XL size. Usually I make something that's about 50 inches to have 3 inches or so, 2 to 3 inches, maybe 4 of positive ease. I'm probably about 47 here across the girls right now. So if my gauge is a little small, I could do magic math. If my gauge is kind of small, hopefully that just means it'll be closer to having normal positive ease for me instead of slightly oversized positive ease, or I will just aggressively block it. I don't want to pull too much when I'm blocking on this because I don't want the strands to show behind. That's the other thing I was going for. But I think it's going to have, instead of a sturdy structure, it's going to have a flowy structure because I've picked a lighter weight yarn. However, the people are like, so what should I do? Go up or down needle sizes? If you change anything about the pattern and just picking a different yarn, which you almost have to with a lot of patterns, because a lot of patterns are written for yarns that you aren't going to find nearby. Sometimes you can order them, sometimes not. We have a lot of people coming into our shop saying this pattern and the yarn and its substitutes are not found in our shop. So anytime you change the yarn, I heavily recommend doing a gauge swatch. Because like this guy, going back to my staffin', I 2 worsted weight yarns for my pullover and for this. This was supposed to be knit on an 8. I'm knitting on a 9 to get something close to the right gauge. The pullover I did on an 8, and if anything, the gauge was a little off too because it was a much thicker worsted weight yarn. This one's not even worsted weight, and I'm on an 8 instead of a 7, but someone else might have had something completely different happen. So sometimes I like the way a certain needle, the fabric that it's making is feeling. And if it's not gauged, then I have to do some magic math to figure out which size of the pattern I should make. I have a whole video on magic math. Which size of the pattern I should make to get it to come out the size I want it to be, not the size it says it's going to be. There's lots of things that change that. Just diving in with a needle and following the instructions does not guarantee results that will fit because everybody knits and crochets differently than everybody else. That's kind of what I love about this pattern is it doesn't matter what your gauge is. And that's something we'll go over in the first Coach and Connect and answer questions and the kickoff class for locals or people like all over the place. Is we will answer questions about that and hopefully give you enough knowledge to get going on this lovely thing. So I'm going to go because I have a couple more things I need to attend to today. But thank you for hanging with me. I feel like as I kept talking, overall, I'm not an emotional wreck. I was earlier in the week, like last week. I feel like my week, this is like the end of my week because my business week starts tomorrow. So I haven't been an emotional wreck, but like while filming, I don't think. But overall, I think it's helped me ground a little to just talk to you about what's going on, stuff that's going on. So I'm not writing a newsletter today, but I am, getting this out and doing a couple of other things. And I have a lot of behind the scenes like paperwork and financial stuff to do, and we'll see what gets done. But it's been good to talk to y'all. I hope you all are well and staying safe. And as I always like to say, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.